What is up, Guardians of the Weird? We're back. I'm Sip.
I'm Shmoke.
And this is going to be one of our different things we're trying out. This is going to be the inaugural episode of Sip and Shmoke Storytime. Right?
Try new things.
Yeah. Experiment. Pop that thing. All right. So, both my partner Shmoke and I, we've lived some interesting lives, you know. So one of the new formats we're gonna dive into, see if you guys enjoy this kind of thing. We're gonna have a little story time.
Yeah, just tell you stories from our past, things that we've seen, experienced, and just share it with you. Lay it on the line, and if you have a scary story that you'd like to share with us, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, we would love to do some, Guardian stories, if you guys have some, interesting things that have happened, whether it's paranormal. It doesn't even really have to be a paranormal thing. Most of ours probably will be, but that's the majority of our good stories, I feel.
To be fair, though, we are not looking for this one time at band camp.
I mean, those you can send directly to my email. I will curate those stories. But no, I mean, if it's, paranormal or just some super insane event that happened, maybe you witnessed a murder or a bank robbery. Or
Glitch in the Matrix.
Glitch in the Matrix. We love Glitch in the Matrix stories. So, I mean, yeah, anything that you guys have, we'd love to hear them. Shout them out on the videos, give you guys your voice,
Yeah, and if this does well enough, maybe we'll do a live session where everybody can just go around. We'll pass the flashlight, so to speak.
Yeah.
And, Are You Afraid of the Dark style, right?
Yeah,
just
Midnight Society.
There you go, yeah. Except we're not terminally ill. Hey, that we know
of. Being terminally ill is the human condition. Let's be real. We're all going to die.
Wow. Were you guys ready for that deepness? The depth of that thought?
Hey, look, that's just a foreshadowing to some of our, shoot the shit episodes,
Coming soon.
Shmoke and I, we have, our brains work in different ways. I don't know if you've noticed that yet. So we have some very interesting thoughts on certain things.
Yeah. For example, mine works.
I mean, mine works, but it...
You're still running Windows 98.
It is not efficient.
I'm not much better. I'm probably running XP or something.
Right.
And God knows I've got 100 tabs open on my browser, so my RAM is shit.
Well, we call you Shmoke for a reason. That doesn't really help with the...
I don't know what you're talking about.
All right, so without further ado, guys, sit back and enjoy episode 1 of Sip and Shmoke Storytime. And today is actually going to be one of my stories. Sip has got some interesting shit.
Stories with Sip.
And Shmoke, you're part of this.
Well, you said it was a Sip story.
Ship story?
Sippery.
All right, that was bad.
So what you got today, man? Spit it out.
So today is the time that me and my best friend and my fiance yeeted a demon.
Yeeted?
Yeah, we yeeted a demon.
Shirts are going to be available online.
That would be...
Yeeted demon. Fucking... There you go. Some shit just makes itself.
Oh, so... There is a bit of a prerequisite to this, right?
To demon eating?
Yeeting, not eating.
Yeah, I said demon eating.
Right.
Yeah.
So, there used to be this place called Henryton Sanatorium.
Okay.
Right?
I'm familiar.
Okay, yeah. For those who aren't, which is going to be 99.9%, well, all 6 of our viewers are from the area, I'm sure.
So you probably all know.
But just in case, so Henryton Sanatorium started out as a tuberculosis ward back when everything was segregated. It was where they would...
Real quick, excuse me. My apologies.
Of course.
Everybody at home, this is Phoenix. He's a new addition to the family, but he is a fucking gremlin. God love him. We love him, obviously. But he is a mischievous little shit. So he's going to be here for a minute in timeout until he learns to stop fucking with shit. Isn't that right,
He's
buddy?
a little Takalashi.
And he thinks he's quicker than me. You're not. We had this discussion when I first found you, remember? There will be times you think you're faster than Dad. And just remember, you're not. Cool? Can we give the floor back to Mr. Sip Sip? You cool with that? Amen.
So you've met our resident Takalashi.
Link in the description.
So yeah, it was a tuberculosis ward back when things were segregated.
Okay.
Let's not mince words. It's where they kicked all the black people.
All right.
In Maryland. After everything started to get better involving race relations, it turned into an asylum, a mental asylum.
Okay. Still
No.
Okay.
No, it was no longer segregated, but it was still very much a shit place to find yourself.
That's fair.
Now, I don't remember the exact phrasing of what this asylum was originally used for, but I do know that in the hospital's bylines of the fucking hospital, right? Like Henryton Sanitarium, and then underneath of that, it was for the I quote, rehabilitation of the ambulatory retarded. So that should tell you right there what kind of a place this was.
Different time.
Yeah, bad times.
That implies that times are better.
I mean, we are more polite now. Right? Like, for the most part, people don't use that slur in public settings, We don't call someone with mental deficiencies that word anymore. Right? Most of us don't anyway.
So we'll stay off of politics.
Yeah. For now, I'm sure we'll...
Shooting the shit, coming to you live.
So yeah, Henryton was never a great place to be, even after segregation ended. So...
now, was this like a government facility?
Yeah, it was a state hospital.
Yep.
The full name was something like Henryton State Sanatorium, or something along those lines. So the property is fucking massive, of course, but there were, and I say were because unfortunately it's now all burned to the ground, which sucks because it used to be one of my favorite places to go. But there were, I want to say, 19 buildings on the grounds.
Now, I assume it's no trespassing.
Yes, it was no trespassing.
Okay.
That being said, I feel comfortable telling this story because I looked it up, and in this state, the statute of limitations for misdemeanor trespassing is 2 years, so I am in the clear. I'm not incriminating myself.
I could give a shit less about that. I was thinking more of maybe you could walk us through, for example, I know when I went up to Glendale Hospital, we had to sneak and low crawl and fucking all sorts of shit just to get to the buildings without being noticed.
Oh,
because
yeah.
They have security. So I didn't know if there was a similar approach to...
Yeah, so there were two main ways to get onto the grounds.
Okay.
Or two feasible ways. So it shut its doors officially in the
94.
80s.
Damn.
Late 80s. And of course everything got, very unkempt and overgrown and all that kind of shit. So there was only really two ways to get onto the grounds.
Okay.
You could go through the front entrance.
All right. Now, is it monitored?
Sometimes.
Okay.
So there's no cameras or anything on the property, but sometimes there would be a security guard that would actually sit in a car at the front gate.
And just to be clear, if I remember correctly too, this place no longer exists, correct? It's been torn down?
I actually said that a minute ago. You see how much he pays attention to me. Yeah, no, the whole place caught fire.
Oh.
Something had probably vandalism, which is horrible
Demons.
because could be demons, as the story will fucking play out. But either way, a fire caught, spread very, very rapidly. Whole place is leveled now. So, front gate, occasionally there would be a security guard sitting there.
Time out.
Yep.
I just wanted to kind of take this opportunity to explore like a kind of a mini topic inside your story, and that is, and it doesn't have to be obviously a fucking 30-minute discussion or anything like that, but so when you have a house like a place that's haunted, or air quotes haunted, right? And it burns to the ground, or it's destroyed, it's leveled.
What happens to the spirits?
Yeah, do you think they stay on the property? Do you think that's like an exit? Like they finally, free at last. I don't know why I just turned into Rita Repulsa, but.
That's a good question.
Does it matter, like, the manner of destruction? Like, bulldozer doesn't really cleanse things like a fire would?
Well, see, I don't know that I believe that fire in and of itself is all that cleansing. I believe that there has to be extra steps, right? Like you salt and burn the bones kind of thing. Like I don't think that just a fire is going to do it.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying in a very primal sense, like fire is the purge all.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's a 50-50 toss-up, really. Like either it's going to cleanse the ground. And
is there something else there?
What do you mean?
Like the lot that it was built on?
It's
so it's still just abandoned?
Yeah. Well, the last time I checked.
So is it still no trespassing?
That's a good question.
Because we could test this theory.
We could. That'll be something to look into. Maybe we'll take you guys out for a little visit to the grounds. The buildings aren't there anymore, but the grounds still are. You know.
And also, let us know what you think in the comments, right? Do you think spirits, like of a building that it resides in, is it free? Does it just get the packing boxes out and move to another location, right? Like, for example...
Or is it like the end of 13 Ghosts? Right? The house blows up and all the ghosts just walk into the woods and kind of go their own separate ways. They just fuck off and do what they do in their afterlife,
Is that what you got from that? I figured they were going to fucking...
Pass on?
No, like fucking go fuck with other people.
Oh, that too.
Because remember in the beginning of 13 Ghosts, and again we're getting off subject, but he had to go out into the wild to essentially catch.
Right. Well, I'm sorry. I guess I said that wrong. I meant go back to what they were doing, like fuck on with their own lives.
Gotcha.
Lives, afterlives.
Who's to say? This could all be the dream. This could be
right. We could be in the afterlife right now, and we would never know.
I glitched out. And now you're imitating me?
And we would never know.
And we would never know.
And we would never... Okay. So yeah, what... So yeah, I don't know. Me personally, I think it's a 50-50 toss-up. Either one, it's going to piss the spirits, demons, beings, whatever you want to call them. It's either going to piss them off or it's going to send them packing. I think. I don't really think
But when you say packing... Like, what does that encompass?
Well, I mean, okay, so I guess it's more nuanced than that, because that would then...
Like, are they, again, going to haunt more shit, or are they, like, their bondage to this world is over, essentially?
Yeah, I don't know, because I feel like...
Like, if you burn the Annabelle doll, does that spirit go away, or does it go find a fucking, Buzz Lightyear?
So I guess that depends on if you believe...
Which would be hilarious.
Yeah, that would be. I guess that depends on if you believe... the spirit is attached to an object or a dwelling or a location, or if the spirit is because of, violent death, unfinished business, whatever. Right? Like, why is the spirit still here? I guess that would kind of play a part into the answer. Like, if the spirit is attached to the building, to the place, to those walls that it died in, I guess logic would dictate that you tear the walls down, spirit goes bye-bye.
Or does spirit follow the debris? suddenly we've got 1 million haunted landfills. Like,
Yeah, I mean, that's... What are your thoughts?
I'm, probably cop-out answer, but anything's possible. If I had to take my best educated guess at it, I would say number one, I agree with you that it would depend on the haunting, like a residual energy. I don't think removing any parts of the environment really changes anything, because it's an imprint, so to speak. It's just there, whatever those fucking coordinates are, it's gonna fucking run like clockwork. Whereas if it's more of an attached spirit, there's a little bit more pliability to what can go on.
Okay.
I guess just to be devil's advocate, I would go with they stay there. Because it's fucking also hard for me to picture fucking spirits packing up and fucking moving. Like right to
Well, I don't think they have belongings, my guy. Like,
I don't fucking, if they have that kind of consciousness where they're like, shit, I need a new, like, fucking place to haunt. I have a job to do. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, yeah.
like, what else don't we know, right? Like, it could be like Beetlejuice. You get to the afterlife, they have possessions.
Yeah. All right, guys. 100 billion likes on this video, and I will die and go to the afterlife and report back to you.
I hope you're prepared.
They pop in those 100 billion likes. That's why I said that number, Jason. Welcome to the joke. I mean, Shmoke. Welcome to the joke, Shmoke.
I am well aware of the joke, but you have no idea how much people want people to kill themselves on the internet.
Bro, there aren't 100 billion people in the world.
That is not going to stop anything. There are fake accounts. One man could kill you.
Bro, do you know the amount of work it would take to program 100 billion bots?
Probably not a lot.
Probably more than you think.
No, because you got to think about how things work. Like if
And then we're going into a whole other episode.
Yeah. But if one bot can create two bots, just think about it from that aspect.
Okay, so we're going with a Fibonacci sequence of fucking boxes.
I'm just saying,
Bots.
naturally, bots would continue to fucking populate themselves at a larger amount. I bet.
I still feel like it would take a lot more time than.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so you're at this tuberculosis hospital.
So the two ways to get onto the property.
Right. Low crawling.
So you can get in the front entrance if there's no security guard there. Actually, fun little side note. One night, me and the friend from the story, Ryan. His name's Ryan. He's not gonna give a shit.
For the sake of this video, we'll call him Ryan.
No, his name's Ryan. He's not gonna give a shit.
I know.
So me and Ryan went there one night, just him and I, and there was a security guard at the front gate. And we didn't feel like going the other way, so we're like, let's just ask the security guard. Let's just fucking talk to the guy. And is this real big, what's his name? Lavelle Crawford or Big Black. Everybody knows Robin Big, right? Big Black. Christopher Boyd. Biggie Smalls looking motherfucker, right? Just a big ass dude in a security guard uniform sitting in his car. And me and Ryan walk up to his door, and he rolls his window down, and the first thing we notice is the fucking plume of smoke that comes out. Smelled like your car when you and I first met.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
It smelled like a Cypress Hill concert, all right? So, this dude rolls his window down, the smoke hits us in the face, and we're like, hey man, you can, check our shit. We're not here to vandalize anything. We just want to explore the property. And my man says, I am a businessman before anything else. And Ryan looks at me and goes, what does that mean?
Am I going to have to fuck this guy?
I'm like, dude, he's asking for a bribe. He wants money. Right? So we gave him $40 for 2 hours. And he just let us chill. So yeah, you can go through the front entrance. If you don't want to do that,
if your speech is high enough,
right. If you pass the speech check or the bribe check, if you have the gold to, the only other way through.
Filthy Imperials.
Cause she has wares if you have coin. Copyright.
Check out Khajiit Mart.
So the only real other way to get onto the property is to park like 1.5 miles, 2 miles away, and walk train tracks. Which we didn't know, but we found out the hard way because there's a tunnel that you have to go through. We found out the hard way one night that those tracks are still in use.
Oh.
And four people almost lost their lives. We almost added to the ghost count there. Yeah, so you got the front entrance, you got the train tracks.
Guarded by a train.
Right, you have a security guard or a fucking train. And this is not Thomas the Tank Engine. He will take your ass out. Implying that Thomas the Tank Engine isn't a fucking murderer. Have you seen those eyes? Those cold, lifeless eyes? He's taking lives. Those are Ted Bundy eyes.
Be careful, man. They're making all of our childhood stuff into horror movies now. So Thomas the fucking Tank Engine serial killer could be right. Straight to Netflix fucking. You thought my ideas were bad.
So, the night in particular where all of this bullshit started, right? This entire, I'm going to call it a saga because it really was. The events affected my personal life for well over a year after the initial meeting.
Meeting?
That'll make sense in a minute.
Okay.
But like, I think saga is the best word. Like it legitimately negatively affected my life.
Well, you know what? You're the author. You do whatever makes you. So you want to be like Marvel and have sagas.
On the night that this saga started, it was myself, Ryan, and another guy who I'm not going to name just because I don't have contact with him anymore. We'll call him
Billy Bob.
Billy. All right. So me, Ryan, and Billy.
Now who's Billy?
Billy was just a friend of ours.
Okay.
Ryan had known him longer, and he was like a very so back in the day, Ryan was a very devout Catholic himself. Yeah.
No, you know what? Actually, that tracks. That tracks.
He was a devout Catholic, but questioning.
Still tracks.
Right. Like he had an open mind, but he back then, held pretty firm in his faith. Right. To the point where he used to wear a crucifix necklace.
It's an open world, but it's still on Super Nintendo.
Right. And this actually is important later in the story, but he used to wear a crucifix necklace that he'd had blessed. Right. Symbols have power, I think, whether I believe in them or not.
Okay.
Basically, is where my mind is.
So, like, I mean, and I'll let you get back to your story after this. But, like, how does that engage with, like, symbols, for example, like the cross has existed for well beyond Christianity's use of it? Does the power of belief infuse that?
Yeah, I believe it does. And actually, there's a...
So it was like the swastika, like, ruined by, like, fucking, like, Nazism?
In the social climate, 100% it is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, obviously, and now, unless I'm mistaken, which
from
I
a
could
symbology standpoint,
right?
You know, the swastika.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's still
the Third Reich.
I'm pretty sure there is still a sect of people who still use that symbol. Not on the Nazi side, on like the original.
There is definitely a sect of people.
For its original.
Unfortunately, they vote.
But yeah, I mean, so I believe there is still a sect of people who use that symbol for its original intended purpose.
Okay.
And for them, I believe it still holds that meaning.
Okay.
But in the socio-political climate, that symbol has definitely lost its meaning.
I'm sorry. I hate to keep, like, peeling layers of the onion. So does that, like, mean, in your, obviously, opinion, that symbols that have essentially lost a lot of their belief behind it, like, for pick example, like an Ankh or something like that,
right?
That, like, their deities are powered down? Like, almost like a, right? Like, are you following what I'm saying? Like, a power, like, fucking, and the more belief in a... an idol, the more powerful it becomes, to where, like, Jesus has everybody in headlocks.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a fully good answer on that. But then again, if you ask me what happens after you die, I'll tell you I think it's whatever you believe.
Okay, well, that's a pretty common.
Right, like if you believe you're going to go to heaven or hell, I think that's what's going to happen. If you believe you're going to be reincarnated, I think that's what's going to happen to you. Like,
oh no, oh, okay, but we disagree then. Because I just believe it to be like a transitional period. I believe that you see what you believe when you first die, but that's more of a like, don't throw that motherfucker in cold water type shit.
What?
Like, you don't want to shock the soul system, and so
Right.
you ease them in with what they already believe. So like you get like a 30-minute, you know what I'm saying? Fucking like if you believe in heaven or whatever, you show up at the pearly gates, and that's comforting to you as you transition out of planes.
Right.
But then afterwards, you know what I'm saying? That's the show goes on essentially, right? And whatever the divine process is,
so
you
you
go back
believe
into the.
That's where we differ, right? So you believe in one thing.
No, I mean I believe anything's possible. Like,
well, I mean, but like your thought, like you just said, there's the transition period, then the show goes on.
right.
Right. That's where we differ because I don't believe that it's the same for every person. I don't believe that everybody the show moves on.
So this gets even deeper because, for example, populations are continuing to grow.
Mm-hmm.
And so is there somebody manufacturing motherfucking souls? Is there like an assembly plant for fucking souls? Or is it all the same souls that have constantly been in flux?
That now it's going to go even deeper. What is a soul?
Well, right, because energy cannot be...
Exactly.
Right, so...
So do you believe a soul is just that a human soul has to inhabit a human body and only that? Or is a soul just a manifestation of energy?
So I think the best answer your question, I think the sign of a true, that sounds stupid, like an authentic soul is some level of like consciousness. Like for example, I don't know how philosophical you are, but we look at this table,
Mm-hmm.
it's inanimate, right? But at the very like fiber of it, it's vibrational, it's moving, it is a living structure.
It is made of matter.
I'm not sure the table has thoughts. I'm not sure it doesn't.
I think it's pretty safe to say that it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, that is based on our current understanding of science and matter.
Look at how little we know about animals and their ability to like fucking think and have personalities.
I mean, I feel like we know pretty. Like, I want to say it's mice and dolphins, and primates are the only species that have metacognition, which is the knowledge that we think. Like, we're aware of the fact that we have conscious thought.
I don't know if I believe that. Like, I mean, any encounter with like an animal suggests that like they're capable of much higher thought than just I like, I don't like, I eat, I don't eat.
Well, just so that's where the metacognition comes into play, right? Like, you can have, like, it's out, like, for example, dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Dogs are smart. We know this.
Depending on the breed.
But the metacognition is where they're not consciously aware that they have conscious thought. Sure, the thought is there, but it's not a metacognitive thought.
Is that just because we haven't talked to any dogs?
It very well could be. This is based on our current understanding. That being said, I feel like, well...
We used to think leeches healed things.
Hey, don't knock it till you try it. Right, leech therapy is pretty good.
You'll just get sucked by anything, won't you?
Yeah, no, I mean... I was going to say, I feel like our science is pretty well evolved, but I feel like they thought that 100 years ago too.
Yeah.
You know, there's no telling the limits on science.
And, as with, like, everything always grows at a much higher rate. Like, once technology gets better, the next thing comes that much faster, and it's that much better, and then the next thing that comes is always going to be faster and even better.
Yeah, I mean, who
knows?
knows?
We're entering quantum computers right now.
Right.
I mean, that's basic. I mean, right? This book is fucking over. In terms of, like, right, we're going to start writing some completely new shit.
Oh, yeah.
Everything is going to be shaken to the foundation with every quantum anything.
Mm-hmm. Right. 100 years from now, we're going to have a little implant right here that lets us talk to any species. Fucking.
I mean, shit, right? We can always already put, like, earbuds in that translate real time for us for fucking languages. It's not too far off.
Yeah.
All right, but anyway.
Yeah, right. Where were we? I feel like this episode has totally devolved from a.
I feel welcome to shoot the shit.
Yeah, right. Like I feel like we might as well. Like, So the religious symbolism.
So we're just now getting to the hospital.
Right.
You're telling us that
Me,
Ryan wears a cross, and you believe in symbology.
Correct.
And it's all going to come into play because you're weaving an intricate story that's going to circle back to these details that you are laying down for us.
It really is.
Be amazed, people. This is storytelling at its finest.
I mean, this was also over a year of my life. Like I said, like this
paint your picture.
One night impacted well over a year of my life, and it
well over a year. We're doing a fucking paranormal podcast, right? Like, I don't know if you were into paranormal before this experience.
Oh yeah.
Well, I guess so, right? What makes you fucking go to a
right? Yeah, like you, I grew up in a severely haunted house. Like my first paranormal memory is probably my first memory period. Like I was like 3-4 years old. It was the first time I remember seeing some shit that didn't make sense. Like literally my entire life, and it goes all the way throughout my family. Like family tree. Like my family is surrounded by paranormal shit, and so like it's literally in my blood. Which that's why we would go out and go ghost hunting. You know, fucking me and Ryan both have always been like, so him and I became friends in middle school, and like ghosts was one of the things that we would talk about even back then. So yeah, me, Ryan, Billy, right?
And you said there was a fourth person, right?
No, that was a different night.
Oh.
Yeah. There were lots of nights. There
are many nights.
We were at Henryton no less than 30 times. Like, we went a lot. Sometimes we went in big groups. Like, one night we had a group of, like, 12 people that went. And then other nights it was just me and Ryan. Like, you know. I don't think either one of us ever went solo. I don't think either one of us were brave enough for that. Because Henryton was a fucked up place. Like, the experience is there. I mean, the second you... And you know, this might actually lend something... We might be accidentally going full circle here to your question about, like, what happens with the grounds and everything. Because, like, it was literally, you felt the vibe change the second you stepped onto the property. No matter what direction you were coming from. The second you crossed that line, the entire feeling of everything changed. Like, it was heavy. Yes, everything tingled. Like, it was heavy. All of your hair stood up. It was... And the reason I put so much stock into this is because, like I said, it's no matter what angle you came from, no matter what way you went onto the property, the second you crossed the threshold, it changed. And so this particular night, me, Ryan, and Billy, at the time, Ryan had a girlfriend with some mental, it was like schizoaffective something or another. She saw shit. Okay? So we never brought her along.
Okay.
Right?
That's fair.
For the most part, we didn't really talk to her that much about the things that went on either, just because, like, we didn't want to... It was hard. Things were hard enough. Right? That night, it was very shortly after we got onto the grounds. He got a text from his girlfriend. She was like, did you see the girl yet? Little girl? We're like, bitch, what little girl? Like, the fuck are you talking about? She's like, no, don't talk to the little girl. You see the little girl, you just fucking run. And that was the first and last time she ever sent a text like that. When, like, she knew when we were going to these places, but we never discussed things with her, you know. And for her to just be like, hey, yo, when you see that girl, dip. We're like, all right, that's fucking weird.
Now, had you guys, like, done homework up to this? Like, you said you guys didn't, none of this was, she was privy to any of the, like, build up to going to these sites?
Yeah, no, we didn't really discuss anything.
No pillow talk with,
I don't think that was their pillow talk. I could be wrong.
Spit that game.
Wrong game. But yeah, so we thought it was super weird, you know, when you see the girl run, whatever. And what was weirder was that throughout the night, there were... Now, you're always hearing shit in Harrington. Like, number one, the buildings are super old and decrepit, literally falling down in some places. So a lot of the times, it's kind of hard to tell, like, oh, was that like a cracking, like, did somebody just step on a twig, or did a chunk fall off the ceiling?
Right.
Like, there were two things that we heard consistently that night that were completely unmistakable.
Okay.
All right. We heard small giggling.
Small giggling?
As in giggling
like
from
small
a small
stature?
child.
Okay.
Like, you know, you can tell the difference in timbre and like, you know, like it was small giggling.
Okay.
And a whistle. And I can't whistle right now because of all of my piercings, but it was a very specific fucking whistle.
Okay.
And I will never forget this whistle for as long as I live. Because all throughout the night, it was the same whistle that was repeated, that we would hear. It was like a doo doo doo, but as a whistle. Again, can't whistle because of my lip rings, but it was
so.
Yes, almost exact. And we heard that and the giggle all night. Different buildings we
Little
would hear
giggle.
it. Right, small giggle.
Small giggle. Baby giggle.
It was the different buildings we would hear it in, different sections of different buildings. At one point we heard, or at a couple points we heard the whistle outside when we were going to other buildings. I will never forget that fucking whistle for as long as I live. And so there were two main buildings that we would go to, right? We would spend a lot of time in the main hospital building just because it was so huge.
Okay.
It was like a legitimate like hospital-sized building.
Went to the hospital, guys. You wouldn't believe it. It was the size of a fucking hospital.
Oh my god! Right?
Goddamn
like,
fucking Hedberg over here.
And then we would also spend a good bit of time in the main administration building. And the reason is the top floor of the main administration building was where they would house the children. When it was, well, I can't remember if it was the children's ward when it was a TB hospital, but I know that when it turned to the insane asylum, that the top floor of the main admin building was the children's ward. And it was kind of an odd setup, right? So if you're looking at the front of the building, you can very distinctly see that it's 2 floors, but it was kind of built on a hill. So when you're inside and you go up to the second floor, there's actually a back door on the second floor that goes straight to the grounds because of like the hill, how it's built.
Okay.
And this particular night, the 3 of us, we were upstairs in the children's ward, and the hallway kind of tees out at one point. So this part of the T is where most of the rooms were. This part of the T goes out and the back door.
Okay.
Right? And we're standing right at the intersection of the T.
Okay.
I have my back against the wall, looking down that hallway, and they're standing
Flanking, right?
Yeah. And it had been a little while since we had heard anything or, gotten any sort of activity. So in my head, I'm like, all right, I'm going to fuck with these guys a little bit. Like, just, goof around. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to pretend like something just touched me and, like, freak out. I'm like, ooh, freak everybody out.
Dick move.
Oh, don't worry. The bitch made an honest man out of me. Because right before I fake freaked out, something actually tugged on my shirt. But at the same time, Billy, who was standing to my right, something touched his back at the same exact time. And I have pictures of this somewhere. I just can't seem to find them. But we actually have pictures. And it looked like two child-sized hands dipped their hands in chalk and then, like, patty caked his back. And they were definitively child-sized. And, I mean, the three of us started freaking out. I turned on my flashlight real quick, right as Billy, like, jerked forward, like, something touched me. And I, turned over and looked down that end of the hallway real quick. And there was the room at the very end of the hallway. I saw, it kind of looked like the bottom hem of a white dress just kind of flicker into the room.
Okay.
And we're like, what the fuck? Right? Like, so I'm like, all right, you guys stay here for a minute. I'm going to go into that room. If I scream, y'all motherfuckers better get in there. Like, so I'm in there. I have my voice recorder going. I'm, trying to do some communication. And this is where things start to get really weird. So I'm in there. The whistle happens. And I'm like, all right, yeah, what the fuck? What is your name? Like, can you tell me your name? And there's no audio of anything. Like, nothing said its name, but the name Mary fucking sucker punched my perennial cortex.
That's smart of yourself.
Smacked me in the brain.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't hear it, but I knew this bitch's name was Mary. And I'm like, oh, okay, Mary. Like, anytime from that point forward, anytime we started talking to or about Mary, just everything just got so much heavier and fucking dark. It almost seemed like it was literally getting darker anytime we mentioned Mary. And it was right around that point that we remembered what Ryan's girlfriend said. Like, oh, fuck, we met a girl now. We should probably leave. We were fucking freaking. So we left. We did. After it was Mary, it was maybe an hour after Mary sucker punched me in the brain. We ended up leaving. And like we were just so freaked out, like nothing we had never experienced as much in one go as we did that night.
Right.
Like all the whistles, all the giggles, like I mentioned, all the buildings were kind of crumbling, and so a lot of the walls had like holes in them and stuff. And I forgot a very important part because my brain. The reason Mary became important in this, I'm pretty sure it was my fault.
Okay. That's how most things are.
So one of the things that we saw a lot of the times was like whenever a flashlight would like illuminate one of the like crumbling walls or something, we would see like the shadow of a small person like ducking behind a wall, like playing hide and seek kind of thing. And it was shortly before we left that like Billy was really freaking out. Like the touch, he had never been touched before, so he was like really, really freaking out. And my dumbass, I'm very much a Zach Baggins type when I do these like the ghost hunts and stuff. Like I'll antagonize, I'll I'll put myself out a lot more than most other people would, right? So Billy's freaking out. He's like, this bitch is fucking crazy. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. She's like bad or anything. It's just a little girl just wants a friend. Not even thinking. I'm like, I'll be your friend, Mary. And it was very shortly after that we left because things got weird. And so we all get back to my house. And at the time, this is actually when I was living in that ritzy place that I had mentioned before. Gibson Island, yeah. And we ended up getting home at, I don't know, 4:30, 5 o'clock, something like that. And I remember that my mom was awake. I was only 18, guys. Cut me some slack. Still living with your mom at 18 isn't that bad. Fuck, still living with your mom at 30 ain't that bad.
Not at 22.
Yeah, right? Need a fucking 7-income household just to make it. But so my mom was awake, and I was kind of talking to my mom about some of the stuff that was going on. And I said, yeah, we met a little girl, and without missing a fucking beat, my mom goes, oh, you mean Mary? You bitch, what? Yes, but how do you know? She's like, I don't know. Just Mary. Well, that's weird because that's exactly how I got the name. Fucking, all right. Don't like that too much. All right. And after that, things were pretty quiet for a little bit.
Okay.
No, I will say that that house that we were living in, that was a pretty haunted house already. I would say, well, I don't know if it was the house that was haunted or us, or my family that's haunted, but either way, a lot of stuff happened there. Like, more than normal people would be comfortable with. But like I said, it's my whole family has a supernatural history, so like, I guess our skin is a little thicker where things of a supernatural nature are concerned. Like fucking doors slamming by themselves, lights and shit like that. It's just another day for us. But I will say that for the most part, things were quiet, but the typical haunting stuff did become a lot more frequent. Fucking my bedroom at the time was in the attic. Like it was just the attic was essentially a bedroom with 2 storage units on either side. And the storage units they had doors on them, but I mean, like, there were times, I can't tell you how many times we were all sitting downstairs watching TV or something and heard people walking up in my room. The attic definitely seemed to be the epicenter of everything. And very specifically one of the side storage rooms. And it was the side that had a chimney in it. And I only say that because it's kind of important. Things got crazy, right? Just the everyday activity ramped up. But again, we're kind of used to it, so like it became a joke around the house. Like, oh, ghosts are going crazy again. What's new? And then, so in this interim here, I ended up getting engaged to my girlfriend. She moved in with us. I'm not going to say her name either, just because I don't know if she wants to be associated with this, because she's a pretty integral part of all this. We'll call her Lily. Lily moved in with us. Oh, she was up with me up in the attic. One night, me and Lily just laying down watching TV in bed, and I heard something. Thought I heard something from the storage room. I muted the TV, and I heard the goddamn whistle. The whistle from Henryton was in my bedroom. And bro, when I tell you, it was a fucking, like, it was a flash PTSD reaction. Like, I was back in the fucking trenches. Like, it immediately put me on edge, like, fucked up.
Shoved her out of the bed.
No, fucking damn near did. Like, it was bad. Like, but it was because it was the same fucking whistle, the same tone, the same fucking, melody, just the same whistle. Fuck. So at that point, I was like, all right, Ryan, dog, like, get your ass over here, bring everything you have, fucking every camera, fucking recorder, everything. Like, I heard that fucking whistle. And so we did. We went into that storage room and started doing a little investigation. And fun fact, part of this night is actually recorded on YouTube already. I had an old YouTube channel that I did way back in the day. And we actually recorded a good chunk of this night. Well, a good chunk. The video is like 7 minutes. But that's because things got too weird. We eventually just ditched all the recording equipment because shit was getting so crazy.
So we're gonna put the original footage at the end of this, right?
Yeah, I'll put a link down in the description. I'm not going to attach it because I think that this video is already going to be long enough. Or I'll attach it. Jesus Christ. Staring daggers at me.
Mary.
Ugh. Yeah, nah, I fucking... Actually getting goosebumps. Like, it was a pretty traumatizing experience.
I think I hear your voice crack a little too. Yeah,
dude, like, I'm not... I'm not kidding. Like, well over a year of my life this affected. So we're in there. We're doing our recording and stuff. So in the video, you'll see me with like my back up against the chimney. After we stopped recording that video, we all kind of moved around. Like, we got up, stretched our legs, just took a little break or whatever. And when we got back in, Lily ended up sitting with her back against the chimney. And me and Ryan we were kind of sitting like a triangle.
And this is back in the bedroom outside of the storage?
No, we went back into the storage area.
Okay, so the storage area has the chimney itself. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So we're back in there. We start using a spirit box, which if you're not familiar, spirit box flips through white noise frequencies or radio frequencies at a very, very rapid pace. And it said that spirits, whatever, can kind of communicate through the white noise that creates. So we're in there, we're using the spirit box. The word fire comes through very clearly 3 different times, and then the word danger comes through. And all of us being young and full of bravado, like, oh, all we heard was fire. It wants fire. All right. So we lit a candle, brought it in. Like, all right, we got some fire now. Not too much happens for a little bit, and then Lily starts saying that she feels like something is like right on the other side of that chimney from her. She said she feels like it's like kind of reaching out around the chimney at her. And then at one point the flame on the candle starts acting weird, and Lily starts to act weird. Like, you never knew Lily. This was before you and I had met. She was not the quietest person. Like, she was a pretty talkative person. And, like, she got real quiet. She was very stone-faced. She kind of stopped blinking. And we kind of thought, like, because she was never... She hadn't really done a whole lot of, like, ghost investigation type stuff. So me and Ryan thought, all right, maybe she's getting a little overwhelmed, right? And so we turned off all the recording and everything. And we got up to walk out. Now, this is the attic bedroom. This is, like, fucking summer in Maryland. Like, it's hot up in this attic, right? We didn't have central air in that house, so hot.
Nor would the attic usually be air conditioned.
Well, either way. Fucking scorching. So me and Ryan walk out.
Haven't stopped sweating since that day.
And Lily's just kind of sitting there. She's still not saying anything. And she's just kind of staring at me and Ryan as we walk out. Like, she just super blank, unblinking expression. And we're like, come on, we're done for now. Like, we can leave. And we finally get her to get up out of the side room. And the first thing she does, she closes the door, grabs the blanket off of my bed, sits with her back up against the door on the floor, covers herself, pulls the blanket across her, and just sits there staring. She is not saying a fucking word. She's barely blinking. I'm talking like one blink every 3 minutes, like fucking out of it. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, we keep trying to talk to her and stuff, and she's not talking. She's not really reacting to anything. And at one point, Ryan leaned over, because she's sitting on the floor. And this was when we knew that something was definitely wrong. Because Ryan leaned over, and his crucifix dangled in front of her face. And from her sitting position, her leg kicked out, and Ryan's back hit the opposite wall. Like, she literally kicked him across the room.
Like some boy shit?
Like, he didn't, like, fly through the air, you know, but, I mean, she kicked him with enough force from sitting down, like, legs crossed, that there was enough force that he went back and hit the other wall. And, you know, that's when we knew, like, bro, what the fuck? Like, number one, like, these are friends. Like, she had no reason to fucking kick the shit out of him. Number two, now, you know Ryan, he's not the biggest guy.
Quite opposite.
But even still, to kick somebody with enough force that they kind of go across a room. You know what I mean? From a sitting position. Like, that's...
Was he standing?
He was standing, yeah.
Did he fall and, like, tumble and, like...
No, he didn't fall. Or, like, no tumbling. Like, he was leaned over. The crucifix dangled in front of her face. Her leg just kind of shot out. Hit him, like... hip area, I guess. And it was enough force that, again, he didn't fly across the room like in a fucking action movie, but it was enough force that before he could re-steady himself, his back was on the other wall. We're like, dude, what the fuck? You know, like, shit's fucking weird right now, dude. So I had him take the crucifix off of the chain. I took it. I'm like, so help me. And this is where I got the belief that even though I don't believe in religious idols and symbolism, doesn't mean they don't have power, right? Because, and believe it or not, this is one of the experiences that I hate talking about. Because as awesome as it was, like, after the fact, obviously, and as great of a story as it is, I hate talking about it because of how, like I know full well that this sounds like I'm just talking about a movie or something. I know how it sounds. But I also know that I was there. Like, I experienced this. And, like, I can call Ryan right now, and he'll say the exact same shit. Like, this shit happened. So I had him give me the crucifix off of the necklace. I took it, and I tried to get her to take it. And she refused, point blank. No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. She kept trying to look away from me, I grabbed her hand. I grabbed her wrist, and I put the crucifix in her hand. The second it touched her skin, she threw it across the room. Like the second. And I shit you not, there was a burn mark in the shape of that fucking cross on the palm of her hand. And again, I know how that sounds. Like I know how that sounds.
Well,
but I was there. Like I saw the shit. I experienced it. Ryan experienced it. Lily, well, she doesn't remember it. But like, we were fucking there.
Yeah, man.
And at that point, me and Ryan are just like, fuck, what do we do now? Like, So, we just kind of, I mean, you know, they say that there's a third F. You know, it's fight, flight, or freeze. We just kind of froze. Like, we didn't know what the fuck to do. And the next, like, 30 minutes were completely silent. I found out later that Ryan was Googling how to do an exorcism at home. Like, from his phone. Like, we had no idea. Something was clearly going on with her. We didn't know what the fuck was going on. All we knew is that it involved some sort of supernatural entity and a blessed crucifix burned into her hand. Those are the two things that we knew for sure.
Now, does this correlate at all with Mary? Like, does Mary resurface at all, or was Mary over at your mom knew the name Mary? I know you said, like, things ramped up.
We feel like Mary was not actually a little girl, and that Mary used the guise of... Mary was a demon that used the guise of a little girl to lull us into a false sense of security. And we feel like me saying I'll be your friend was all the invitation it needed, and that's why it ended up...
How did you get rid of it? You guys just sat quietly and...
that night?
Yeah.
No, so that night, well, yeah, pretty much. Ryan was on his phone Googling how to do a DIY exorcism. Fucking, I'm just kind of sitting there dumbfounded because my fiance is possessed. Like, I don't know what to do now. Like, we can't name our daughter Linda, that's for sure.
It's not a deal breaker.
And so we were all just kind of sitting there, and at one point, I remember Lily kind of jerked her head like that, hard enough to crack her neck, and we heard footsteps go from next to her back into the storage room and back into the far corner of the storage room. And about 15, 20 seconds after that, she kind of... And the first thing she said is, why the fuck am I in a blanket? Are you guys trying to kill me? Bitch, do you not remember the fucking last goddamn half an hour? But no, she... Up to the last time I talked, I still talk to her from time to time, and she still has no memory of that shit happening. And so a few months after that, we ended up going back to Henryton, and this time it was me, Ryan, and Lily. This is the time.
Did Lily come back?
No. So this is the time we learned that those train tracks are still in use. It was me, Ryan, Lily, and Ryan's stepbrother. And three of us went there. We went like right over the property line. We had to use the train tracks that time. And
fresh out of bribes.
We go there. We had to go across the train tracks. We went like just over the line, the boundary of the grounds, and
Peter Tingle.
I said, yeah. And we basically were like, no, Mary, you stay here. We're like, you're not welcome. We are not your friends. Fucking, you're not welcome with us. Ever. You stay here. And pretty much turned to walk away, and we got about halfway through the train tunnel going out, and heard a fucking train coming. We're like, fuck, these tracks are still in use, like Jesus Christ. And man, when I tell you we barely made it out, of that tunnel. And the fucked up thing is that, so the tunnel, right outside of the tunnel, it's like a very, very narrow crevice.
Okay.
Like super, super steep hill on either side.
Okay.
Too steep to climb up,
right.
Period. And I mean, this train was on us, dude. Like, we jumped out of the tunnel and we had to think thin up against that hill wall until the train went. Like, we were that fucking close. And I can't say for sure if Mary, or the demon formerly known as Mary, stayed. I know that there was never anything that crazy that happened at that house again. But I will say that didn't stop any of the activity.
Right.
My sister at the time, she was 9. No. It was probably about 7. Somewhere around there, like young.
Okay.
She refused to come up into my bedroom for a period of like 4 months because at one point she walked up the stairs to come say something to me, and she looked over at that same storage room door, the same side all that shit happened. And now this is after.
After you left her?
Yeah, after we told Mary to stay at Henryton. Yeah. My sister freaked the fuck out because she said that she saw a girl sitting on the floor in front of that door. And she said that the girl was crying and she had cuts all over her legs. And then she said that once the girl saw her looking at her, she turned around and crawled through the door. And she refused to... Oh, dude. So eventually we ended up moving out of that place. We were kind of friends with the guy who moved in after us. Which is funny, like, long story, like I said, this was the island place. It was one of the worker houses. So my parents knew the guy who moved in after us pretty well. And that guy is a very, very staunch skeptic. He doesn't believe in anything. But it was really funny because he actually told my parents a little while after we moved out and he moved in. He went on a date with a girl who was a self-proclaimed medium. And apparently the date went well. He brought her home. She walked in the house, screamed, ran out, and never came back. And I find that hilarious. But that is hands down probably the most fucked up, crazy thing that I have ever personally experienced.
So it's all downhill from here in Storytime.
I mean, I have a lot of Henryton material. I almost died at Henryton one night. Like, legitimately, my life almost ended. Fucking more demony shit at Henryton. Like, Henryton gave me a fucking treasure trove. It really did. Plus, I have fucking, some of the stories about the house that I grew up in. Like,
you just said this was the best story you had, so if you loved it the best, then everything after it has to be less.
Either way, that's my story. And
well, thank you.
I'm sticking to it, and it still gives me chills thinking about it.
So what do you guys think?
But not those chills.
I think it's all bullshit. I think he's lying straight through his fucking teeth. I don't think any of this shit ever happened. But what do you think? Just kidding.
Look, again, I know how it sounds, guys. I do. I've told this story to a handful of people. I know how it sounds. I know it sounds like it's all bullshit, it's all made up, but it's not. I lived it.
Oh, right. He forgot to tell you about the part where his sister crab walked down the stairs.
spun her head 360, you know, pea soup in my face. Right. Yeah, no. I lived this shit, all right? Like, Ryan lived this shit. Y'all don't know Ryan. He knows, right? Well, fucking, the shit happened, guys. I was there.
And now, we're going back.
Maybe.
Well, maybe.
Look, Gibson Island is a ritzy place. You gotta know people.
Oh, no, not Gibson Island. I just meant to the hospital grounds.
Oh, yeah. We'll go there, too.
Yeah, no, I've given up hope for my Gibson Island fucking bus pass. Like,
Oh, yeah, shit's fucked up, guys. It really is.
same person as the trailer?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Win-win.
Yeah.
All things considered.
But I hope you liked the story time, guys. I know we kind of devolved in the middle there.
That's what we do.
Sorry?
That's why you're here.
We'll get better at these different formats as time goes on.
We won't.
We will. Everything gets better with practice, right? This is our first time doing this kind of episode, you know, fucking... We had literally nothing scripted out. Like we didn't really have an idea for like a structure for this. We just kind of...
Look comfortable.
Yeah. Look like we're comfortable just having a conversation. And I think for the most part we did that, but we really devolved. Well, as time goes on, guys, we'll
I know us, we won't. But it'll be good content.
Good content.
Who needs the quickie mart?
All right, guys. Thanks for stopping by.
Love you. Peace.